بس ما بديتش.
اليو هديت. استنى هقدك واحدة دقيقة.
نتضارب شوية أنا. لا الزعل وصلني ولا دقيقة شوية. فيديو ولا وشنو؟
وين هم الشمس؟
يعني واجد وراني نايد. هاي وصلت.
يا ادم شوف اذا بدا يا ادم كنت حنقول لك شفت تبغى تشوفني دوكا.
دقيقة برك عندي عباد المهم راني خليت وان شوت. وسام عايز لازم نروح.
عليكم رايحين؟
يعني نايد انا.
هتروحوا تاكلوا؟ وبدا
انا نشوفك كده.
ايش قال؟
راسايا هي
21 انت البوان تاعك. انا 121. rebuild. Take this shit off. I don't really have this much. Oh, that's the problem for now. Shit. This is a terrible. Don't shoot me. Hey, normal. Yo, get in. Hello.
Today I'm ranking every single Fortnite mobility item from worst to best. And while I'm not including every single collab item, I threw in the ones that are too good to leave out. And we're gonna get started with number 60, the Halloween candies. So these are kind of a joke. Some of them might give you the 0-point dash or low gravity or even a speed boost, but carrying these around with you is never really worth it. So you're really just gonna pop them where you see them, and nobody is stacking these for mobility. Next up is the Chiller Grenade. I mean, this is definitely just a troll item. You hit someone or yourself, and then suddenly you're skating in an ice rink for 7 seconds. It technically gives you mobility, but it's very hard to control, and a lot of times it ends up being a negative. There are very few moments where it actually helps you, and overall, this is just a meme item. Number 58 is the Spire Jump Boots. I don't have a lot to say about these. First of all, it was so weird. Like, you had to jump 3 times with them just to get a glider redeploy, and even getting them, you had to go through a whole quest line traveling around the map, delivering some sort of obelisk to a statue just to get them. So no one ever really went out of their way to get these, and then they were just mid once you had them. Number 57 is the Icy Grappler. So this is just like the regular grappler, but every time you use it, you also got the icy feet effect, so you can kind of slide around the map, which is great for movement, but have you ever actually tried to use an icy grappler in the middle of a fight? You're just sliding around and nearly falling to your death. You have no control of your character. Now, you can really move around the map faster with this grappler compared to the regular grappler if you know how to use the ice effect really well and slide down mountains and stuff. But overall, actually using this in combat is the worst thing. I don't like it. Number 56 is balloons, alright? The only reason these aren't in last place is because these are kind of iconic and created for a lot of funny meme moments. You're just floating. You're just floating up in the air, and you can easily fall to your death. People can pop your balloons with some shots, and you have no cover, no speed, just a big, slow, floating target. And they're kind of goofy, I'll give them that, they're kind of fun. The only time where I felt like balloons were actually very valid was during Chapter 5, Season 1, when they had the augments where you can get the balloons. Because if you use the balloons with the kinetic hammer, you don't have the issue of the fall damage. You can use the hammer, and then you're floating up in the air. You can use one of the first mobility items ever added to the game. But, you know, their PR is not really standing that well with time because you don't really get a lot of distance with these. There's no fall damage immunity, so it ends up becoming more of an offensive item than a movement item. Like you throw it at people, throw them in storm, or make them fall to their death. But using them for actual mobility, not so much. Next, we have Banana of the Gods. This one is hilarious because it does sound like it would be overpowered, but it really wasn't. You would eat the Banana of the Gods and you gain a little bit of speed and a low gravity jump effect. But let's be honest, you weren't really moving that fast and you were kind of easy to beam if you ended up jumping with these on. But it wasn't totally useless because it did heal you, and because of that, it was sort of worth carrying, just as like a little bit of a heal speed boost. But not the greatest movement item we've had before. At 53, we have Ship in a Bottle. Now, this is more of a novelty item than anything. You would drop in and summon a giant cursed pirate ship. This was a part of the Pirates of the Caribbean collaboration. You would break all the builds in front of you, and you did some damage, which was okay. It was like 50 damage to players, 5,000 damage to structures, and 150 damage to vehicles. You could ride it for about a minute, which was fun the first time, but let's be honest, the movement wasn't that practical. You could also get beamed, and it was a little bit slow. Once people figured out that you can get shot while using this, it was a really easy way to counter it. At 52, we have the Wings of Icarus. I mean, dude, when we saw this in the trailer, I was like, oh my god, you can just fly in Fortnite now. You can dive down and just like crash into players. This looked super OP and super cool and cinematic in the trailer, but in reality, it was awful. Because every time I was flying around with these wings, I would get shot out of the sky. And when you start getting shot, you're just like flopping around in the air until you get to the bottom, and then you can't even do anything for like a second while you're stuck in that animation. It was just way too weak. And it wasn't that fast either. Like, you weren't really flying that fast. So it made it even easier to get shot while you were up in the air. At 51, we have Hop Rocks. These were added in Chapter 1, Season 4 in Dusty. It was like a little bit of a mini jump boost, and you couldn't even really pick them up off the ground. You could only eat them off the ground, so you couldn't like stack these and save them for endgame or anything. And there wasn't a speed buff either, so you just had like a little bit of low gravity, so it was a little bit awkward to use, and you had to only use them at the Dusty Divot area, so yeah, very limited movement. Next up, we have the Unstable Exotic Pistol. Honestly, for as far as movement goes, it's probably the worst movement item on this list. The only reason it's not a last place is because the actual pistol itself is okay. It does decent damage. It's unique. You can throw people off when you're shooting them with this. But actually using this for your own mobility is so bad. It's a very, very short-range shockwave. It does give you fall damage immunity, so it's not like an impulse, but it really doesn't work that well for movement. At 49, we have the Bouncer Trap. Now, this is a classic item, and I think back in the day, it was a lot more powerful when it first got added because players were just bad at Fortnite. It's super clean for lining up trick shots or hopping into a fight, especially if you comboed it with like a shockwave or even using the Bouncer Trap to boost your launch pad and get a really high distance launch pad. In terms of like pure mobility, it's not the best mobility, and you kind of like fly in the air slowly, so it's very easy to get shot. It's also very predictable now. Players are better, so if you actually are playing a mode that has the Bouncer Trap and you use it, you end up getting just one pump as you slowly fly up in the air. At 48, we have Groot's Bramble Shield. So this is more of a defensive rotation tool, and you would activate it and start rolling around inside of like a big Groot ball, blocking damage and cruising around the map. So it's like a giant hamster ball. The mobility wasn't like the greatest, like it was just okay mobility, but it was a good way to kind of get around protected. But there was this crazy glitch where when you use this item, you would like basically teleport across the entire map. They ended up vaulting this item for most of the Marvel season, which kind of sucks. Next up, we have Crash Pad. And we're talking about the big ones, right? You would throw these down and you would bounce off of it to avoid fall damage. You could even use them to break into people's boxes because the big ones actually damage structures. They're very, very easy to use. They're very forgiving, but they are pretty one-dimensional. And when they first came out, you couldn't really sprint, right? There wasn't sprinting or sliding. Now, you know, with the Crash Pad Juniors and stuff, like now that we have sprinting and sliding, like you can sprint and slide into a Crash Pad and go further and kind of like be harder to hit. But back then, you were just moving normally, so you were kind of like up in the air a lot slower. You weren't really going that far forward or backwards like you can do now. So yeah, because of that, they're not that high on the list. Next on the this list, we have the Glider Redeploy. So it's a strong ability, but it's not worth it to carry this as a full item slot. And because of that, it's not high on this list. I mean, it's really good for Glider Redeploys. Like, it's really good to have this. You can avoid fall damage at any given time. You can skybase. But, like I said, you have to carry it as an item, and usually there's a lot of other items you can carry instead. Next up, we have the Shockwave Bow. And this one was added in Chapter 2, Season 6. You could basically just shoot a shockwave with a bow and arrow. The thing about these shockwaves, though, is they weren't as powerful as regular shockwaves. You also had to charge your bow up for it to count as a shockwave. So to use this as mobility, like the shockwave by itself was just a little bit better. However, because it was using, bow ammo, you could have like 50 shockwaves, right? If you have a shockwave bow and you have like max bow ammo, like you can have like 6 shockwaves versus only carrying 6. So you could use it a lot more, even though it was like kind of like a weaker shockwave. Next up, we have an underrated item, the Chrome Splash. So this one is like a splash you would throw down and it would turn you into a chrome blob. Once you were in that form, you were kind of zooming around the map, and you can even use the phase ability to go through builds while staying in the chrome form. And you were immune to fall damage while in the chrome form. So it had a little bit of a learning curve, but some really good players started using this, and they were basically just using it to W key people, jumping into their box, and then pulling out their pump and putting them to sleep. Next, we have the Wolverine Claws. So these claws were vicious. They were good offensively, but you could activate them and go on full berserk mode, slashing, dashing, and regenerating HP. It felt like you actually became Wolverine. And it had a very unique forward lunge that let you close the distance based off the direction you're facing. The only downside is that the movement was very short range, but in close quarter, this was the perfect kind of movement to jump over someone's builds, or get into someone's box, or just like close a small gap and then pull out your pump. Next, we have the Jetpack. So it's not the best for, fast movement, but in zero builds, and especially in certain seasons, the Jetpack is really, really good. The only issue is that it ran out of fuel very fast, and you're kind of hovering in the air, so you're easy to shoot, but in some seasons, with all the different close quarter combat areas, especially in Chapter 3, Season 2, when the Zero build first came out, the Jetpack was a must-have. The next movement item is slap items. This is all the slap barrels, the slap juice, the slap cannon. Infinite sprints is very good. It gave you 30 seconds, no stamina cooldown. You can just keep sprinting. And these are very easy to find in the seasons that they're at. There's slap berry, slap juice, slap splashes. They all gave you the turbo sprint regen. And this is a great way to move around, especially in endgame. It's just very, very consistent and reliable movement. This next one on this list, as a standalone, is not the greatest, but because it combines really well with other movement items, it's not as low on this list. We got Flowberries and Flowberry Fizz. So it gave you the low gravity effect, and you were immune to fall damage when you use these. Obviously you get healed, you get shields and stuff, but that's
I'm gonna say something. The best thing I do, find some loot and hide. That's how I got to how this one, it's like second. I don't know on this. No. After this, not really in the middle, but we're gonna say. And it is it. So I better start on This place was very good. هو يعيط خليني دوب نرفد عليه يعيط.
About these is combining these other movement items, using a full berry and then using a grappler, or using a full berry and then using a shockwave. It'll give you a big boost to all your other mobility items, so it just pairs really well. But on its own, like just as a standalone mobility, it's not the best. Next we have the chainsaw. This one was pretty cool. Offensively, like you could run people with this into a lot of damage, you could break into people's boxes and builds, and you can sit across the map. There was even like a glitch where you could use the green skull dash with the chainsaw at the same time and just go flying across the air. That wasn't intentional, but we'll still account for it because it did not get fixed. You could do that the entire time the chainsaw was sticking.
Oh, what's up, Twofold?
Wait, let me try and put these guys.
What's up, Twofold?
It wasn't a very easy item to use, but when it worked really well. Up next
I will
is the
try many of them.
not-
Wait, I'm trying to kill the ground. I'm gonna try to kill it because I'm near it.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I'm playing the FNCS.
Stop. Nice. Oh,
I'm playing. Man, shut up.
Ooh.
I'm playing the.
Oh, here we go.
You know what? Mute this mother.
This guy's put.
Anyways, I was gonna say I have 129 points.
This one is a fan favorite, and for good reason. This is actually the single shot that did a lot of damage. You can push players with that shot, but you can also push yourself. Use that single shot to save yourself from fall damage, push yourself into high ground. The only issue is that you only get one shot. Movement is very stylish. People are using multiple men on pistols to fly through the air, catch people off guard, trick shots, all the time. Very cool, fun weapon to use with very interesting and unique movement. Alright, so these were only in for one season. So you play during the collab, you know how wild crazy leap. But that's not it. You can also grab players and yoink them into out of their box. And if I remember correctly, so this is just crazy all around, the amount of movement that you can do with these items, offensively, defensively, and Black Panther. This was during the second season, and these were built high pressure. You can activate them to dash through the air, and you can also swing with them for some quick damage. But I think these were just really, really good to move around the map. You had these kinetic dashes you could use. You could also combine it with other movement items like Bullberry Fizz or the Iron Man Flight Kit to permanently fly through the air. And once you turn on enough kinetic energy, you could activate like bolts on this weapon to get way more dashes in a short period of time, allowing you to just fly around like Black Panther. Next up, we have the Shadow Bomb. So these are pretty things. You pop one and turn it invisible and have fast. You can even double jump, and as long as you were climbing walls and not touching the ground, you could stay in that shadow stealth form permanently. And people were doing this all the time in endgames, pretty much stay alive and not have to use any of their materials. And because you were kind of invisible, people couldn't really see you. Mr. Savage actually used one of these to win a game of a Fortnite tournament when he ran out of materials and the storm pulled over a hill. He was able to use the Shadow Bomb and just permanently jump up the hill to stay in the safe zone, and his opponent ended up dying in storm. The movement was crazy with these. They're very...
I only have one match.
Iconic, but they were also very hard to use. Next up is the inflatable. This one is actually kind of goofy, but if you knew how to use these, it was actually really good. You could instantly turn them on, and you would turn into a giant inflatable cow, and you could bounce and roll around, pulling yourself around the map and moving really fast the more momentum you had. You could would rotate up hills, and it kind of looked ridiculous, but you didn't take damage while you were in the inflatable form. If people shot you enough, they would pop you out of it, but a lot of people ended up ignoring them in end games. I'm not sure why they've never brought these back. They were in the game like Chapter 2, but then like they just now are only in creative. The next movement item is the lightsaber. It's not really the craziest movement, but if you knew how to use the double jump and the lightsaber abilities, it wasn't that bad. You can save yourself from fall damage, you can take high ground. The movement animation is actually really cool. The flips and dives you can do with the lightsaber is actually very cool. And when you have the lightsaber out, you actually sprinted faster, allowing you to chase down opponents. Next on this list is the Ninja Turtle Mythics. This is like a reskin of the Kinetic Blade. You can just dash through the air using these, and they had like about 3 charges each. The dash wasn't as good as the Kinetic Blade, so it's not as high on this list, but these were really good to save yourself from fall damage, to take high ground, to pretty much launch into a player and then use the actual weapons themselves to take them out. They were very fun to use during Chapter 5, and while they're not the best mobility item, when you combine the actual damage option with these, it wasn't bad. Next, we have Ride the Lightning. This one was actually very, very unique. So they dropped a guitar item in collaboration with Metallica, and you would strum the guitar, turn into lightning, launch into the sky, and you could choose which direction you wanted to kind of fly, and you could have like 2 dashes in a given direction, and then you would go slamming down. And when you slam down, you can actually damage players. So you can use this offensively as well. But yeah, it was very, very unique, and your teammates and enemies could actually ride your lightning where you launched from and turn into a lightning themselves and follow you. So it had a lot of unique mobility features, and it created for a lot of really cool clips. Next up is storm damage.
And to get weapons, and I'm going here. I'm gonna try to kill some people. That guy's not that away from me, so I know that. No, I am dead. Why did he invite me? Why did they even invite me? His motherfucker. Hey bro, I hate him so bad. He made me lose the FSCS. He made me lose FSCS. He distracted me with the invite. I wanted the skin, which was my last match. Bro, that got me. I'm unfriending him. Where's this mother? Oh, I'm gonna go to him. Where is he? Kill it. Just block him. على جال وقصت شوف تخلينيش على شوف عفسه بدلها آدم 120 صح سهلة بدنا سهل نمشي لنا عشان هذا خا اديت انا 46,000 وصاحبي جاء 1900 صح داسكن هداه صاحبي الداسكن شوفوا 280 وده هذيك الماس جبت بزاف اللي بوم وتقارن النوبة على جل هذاك على جل هذا بس اسمه اللي بعثلي نكرهه صح شوف سعال على صاحبيش يعني شنو هذا Actually so angry. Do I still have another chance? Yes, I still have another chance. But this time it's top 1,000. I get 5 points. I'm gonna try to do this shit. Even after this, how much people? There's this one, loser fruit. I'ma get her 2. وتع شوف كنت هذا لازم فشويش لعب there's 2 بوغا ايكون وكليكس yeah blade of champion وش إذا جوها كيفضلنا نبدا بزاف وسط الماء اللي تزادي كاب I have everything اوه تعطي سكين ولا وشنو وهذه يا طب 2,000 اوه PlayStation Cup. PlayStation. Real quick cup. Yep. Real quick cup. This is a room. هندير كل واش لازم ندير هيا عاود رجع من كاع ولا لا هيا حاصت لي هدية دي ما bookmarker unknown that's bookmark this one ما صدر هذا ما قلا ما نقدر اوه هكذا انا لا تكره انا وليت نكره هذيك الطفل بعث لي على جالو اقصد فانسياس